Madam Clerk, can you please assist me in a head count of counselors, please?
I can see 9 at this point.
All right, thank you. All right, everyone, we can go ahead and get started and let other counselors trickle in as they may. The date is May 23rd. The time now is 7:02 p.m. and this is a hearings meeting of the Springfield City Council. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll, please?
Counselor Perez?
Present.
Present. Counselor Letterman?
Present.
Present. Counselor Curran?
Present.
Present. Counselor Walsh?
Present.
Present. Counselor Brown?
Present.
Present. Counselor Davila? Absent. Counselor Hurst?
Present.
Present. Counselor Edwards?
Present.
Present. Counselor Allen?
Present.
Present. Counselor Govan?
Present.
Present. Counselor Fenton?
Present.
Present. Counselor Whitfield? Absent. Counselor Williams?
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I know Counselor Whitfield alerted me she may not be present for this meeting. So just want to give you that note.
Thank you.
All right. Will our counselors and guests please rise for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge of allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
Of
of
the
the United
United
States of
States
America,
Okay.
to the
and to the
republic
republic for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
with liberty
indivisible,
and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone. All right, Madam Clerk, can you please call the first item before us this evening?
Counselor Williams, prior to beginning the meeting, I'd just like to make note that there is one phone number that hasn't been identified.
Sure, can the number 413, they disappear?
I think they did.
Seems like they did. All right. With that, can you please announce the first agenda item?
The first item on the agenda is for a special permit to operate an adult use marijuana establishment at a portion of the property known as 299 Page Boulevard.
All right, I know this item has been continued several times. So with that, actually, before we proceed, I apologize. Madam Clerk, can you also recognize Counselor Davila who just joined us?
Counselor Davila.
Might need to give him a couple seconds.
Yeah. Connect.
Counselor Davila, just say present.
Present, Mr. President. Good evening.
Thank you, Counselor. All right, as I was saying, this item has been continued several times now, but I do believe we are ready to head into closing the hearing per the message I received from Mr. Frank Fitzgerald. So with that, I will ask Madam Clerk, have you received any remaining testimony in favor of this item?
We have not.
All right, and how about in opposition?
No, we have not.
All right, I know the council received a letter from Mr. Payne, who of course is our city solicitor, on an ongoing issue relative to this. At this time, without objection, I'll just have him speak to that, and then we can head into any questions from the council.
Mr. President, good evening. Members of the council, good evening. I had been asked at a hearing just over a month ago to provide an opinion regarding the issue of some changes to the submission made by this entity seeking to operate at 299 Page Boulevard. I submitted that opinion, I believe, at almost exactly a month ago, maybe a day or two beyond that, in which I simply indicated that I believe that it was appropriate for the council to act in an affirmative manner with respect to this this requested change. It is not a major issue. It is more ministerial than anything substantive. And quite frankly, I was of the opinion, and I remain of the opinion, that should we fail to allow this to proceed, the special permit to be approved based on this particular issue, we will face liability, and quite frankly, I think it will be somewhat difficult to defend. And I think that's the thrust of my opinion, and that's what I've offered to the council.
All right. Thank you, Solicitor Payne. And with that, we can head into questions from the council for the petitioner. We'll start with Councilor Edwards.
Actually, it's less of a question and more of a statement, but thank you, Mr. President. Only thing I have to say is I respectfully ask that my colleagues please consider the possible cloud of litigation, which clearly hangs over this vote tonight, and particularly to regards to this application. I ask respectfully that they consider and or listen to the opinion for both the past solicitor and the present solicitor, Mr. Payne, who will, if and when litigation is begun, will have to defend us against any action. Both solicitors have stated that changes are under dispute were appropriate and legal. And that being said, as a matter of procedure, of our granting or denial of this special permit should only be based on the conditions as spoken generally at the end of the vote, whether to pass or forward by Councilor in seat 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Are there any other questions or comments from the council at this time? Seeing none, is there any further deliberation amongst the council at this time? All right, also seeing none, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the special permit. Councilor.
Motion to approve.
Oops, sorry,
Second.
Councilor. Before on the motion, Councilor Hurst. Councilor Hurst, you're muted.
No?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Mhm.
Okay, I'm sorry. There are 2 devices going on here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I think everyone can hear
Can
you.
you hear me now? Because I
Yes.
can't hear you.
Yes, yes.
No.
Oh.
Hold on. Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
You guys can't hear me, but I can't hear you.
We can hear you.
Sorry, you can hear me now? Yeah,
We can hear you.
but I can't hear you. You know what? I guess I'll pass, Mr. President, since I won't be able to hear the dialogue until I log back in with my phone. So my apologies.
Okay, Councilor Hurst, thank you. Are there Any other questions or comments then from the council at this time? Or for any further deliberation? All right, seeing none, I apologize. There was also a motion made, and I believe that was introduced by Counselor to approve the special permit.
Counselor
Counselor
Edwards.
Counselor Edwards, and properly seconded by Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you
Mr.
please-
President, if I may, just a quick point of information.
Yes.
This particular vote today, can somebody refresh my memory? What position the applicant came in?
Counselor Davila, I'm not sure of that information offhand.
Maybe Solicitor Payne may know, or if they came in fifth or sixth.
Mr. Dromi, do you have that information?
Mr. Dromey, yeah.
Counselors, I apologize. I do not know what position this was.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Counselor. I don't have that information on hand.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Counselor Davila, there's a motion then made. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to approve the special permit?
On approving the special permit, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Kern?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Walsh?
Counselor Walsh.
No.
No. Counselor Brown?
Recuse.
Recuse. Counselor Davila?
No.
No. Counselor Hurst?
Counselor Hurst?
No.
No. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Fenton?
Abstain.
Abstain. Counselor Whitfield? Absent. Counselor Williams?
No. With that, I believe the special permit is not approved. With that, Counselor Perez, can you please state the reasons for denial? Sorry.
Special permit. Reason denied permit. Number one, the specific site is not appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. Number two, the use is developed will adversely affect the neighborhood. Number three, adequate and appropriate facility will not be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. Number four, to incorporate the planning staff analysis into the decision at the basis of the findings.
Thank you, Counselor Perez. Madam Clerk, then can you please call the roll to accept those reasons?
On accepting the reasons, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Letterman?
No.
No. Counselor Kern?
No.
No. Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Brown? Recuse? Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Edwards?
No.
No. Counselor Allen?
No.
No. Counselor Govan?
No.
No. Counselor Fenton? Abstain, I'm assuming.
Abstain.
Thank you. Counselor Whitfield absent. Counselor Williams?
Yes, I believe the noes have it. Madam Clerk, can you please confirm that?
Mr. President, could I ask a question, please?
Counselor Perez, give me 1 second.
On
Madam,
the vote?
give me 1 second, Counselor Perez. Madam Clerk, can you please give me the number there, the head count?
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, because I meant to say no, not yes. Could do for the proposed reading of the reasons?
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please mark Councilor Perez as recorded as a no vote?
Yes, I've changed her vote to a no, and that being said, it is 6 no votes and 4 yes votes at this point.
All right, then the reasons are then denied. With that being said, Madam Clerk, can you call the next item before us?
The next item is item number 2, which is for a special permit for a mixed-use building at the property known as 443 State Street.
All right, councilors, and just to let you know, the remaining items on the agenda are on for the first hearing. So there will be no votes on the remaining items that you heard tonight and then voted on at the next meeting, as we've done with special permits that have come before us. So just that tidbit of information. All right, with that being said, for item number 2, Madam Clerk, is there anyone present on the call to speak to the special permit? If so, can you please state your name and address for the record?
Sure, my name is Donald Mitchell, and the address is 36 Forest Park Ave in Springfield.
All right, Mr. Mitchell, appreciate it. Can you please give some context about the project?
Sure, so I am the developer for the project. We're in the process of finalizing the purchase and sale and closing on the property. Our intention is to redevelop that vacant structure known to most folks on this call as the Kavanaugh Building. And our intent is to redevelop that into a mixed-use building. About 9,500 square feet of that would be commercial square footage on the first floor for several retail tenants. And the remaining portion of the building will be redeveloped into 31 one-bedroom units, approximately 600 square feet per unit.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mitchell, for that. With that, Madam Clerk, I'll ask, have we received any testimony for those in favor of the special permit?
We have not.
How about in opposition?
We have not.
All right, at this time, I'll turn it over to the council for any questions for Mr. Mitchell. And I'll ask, are there any questions at this time? Councilor Brown, followed by Councilor Walsh.
Have you guys been able to reach out to any of the neighborhood councils out there?
Yes, and yes, we reached out to them, but my understanding was there weren't any meetings after talking to Council Williams and the staff for the Maple High Six Corners. I guess they didn't have enough folks or enough members to hold a quorum, but they were informed of our intent and they sent a letter of support.
Wouldn't that be the Old Hill? Isn't that over the Kavanaugh Building? Yeah, that's near Commerce, isn't it?
Correct, it abuts Commerce.
That's Ward 4, not 5.
On the map and on the GIS map, it indicates that it's in the Maple High Six Corners neighborhood.
You're right near. You're saying right there near the Burger King, correct?
No, we abut Commerce, and and our other neighbor to the north side would be the Pizza Parlor.
Yes, Six Corners would be where where D's Grooming, the Keno Shop. That's Six Corners. Where you're talking about, that's still, I would believe that would be Old Hill.
That may be, but I mean, we just looked at the plans. If you pull up the property card, it says that's where the property is located. So for that reason, we reached out to the Maple High Six Corners neighborhood to make them aware of the property and to garner their support.
Yeah,
Mr. President, Mr. President and Councilman Mallory Brown.
Mr. Edwards.
I don't mean to interrupt or the order of things, but I believe I can explain or at least give some degree of clarity. This is part of the problem with neighborhood councils because the boundaries don't always line up with the wards, nor do they line up with any particular police map or any other map of the city. There is a lack of clarity as to the boundaries. This gentleman came to the Maple High Six Corners back pre-COVID in regards to the gun block building, which he or the property near the gun block building, which he had been intending to apply for. The neighborhood council voted in support after listening to his presentation. Prior to that, in years past, when I can't think of the entity, it's there was the collaboration between Mass Mutual Funding, the city. They did some of the historic preservation, and they did have control of it. They also had recognized Maple High Six Corners as the neighborhood council that was responsible for that particular area around Commerce and going backwards. When you think of Maple High Six Corner Neighborhood Council, there are certain boundaries, but they are bounded along State Street in this particular case, down to School Street, I believe. Along Walnut Street, we split with Old Hill. We generally are responsible for the western side of Maple Street, when in fact, by some maps, that is part of the south end. But because of the historic nature of the properties along there, Maple High Six Corner Neighborhood Council also has responsibilities for that, as well as the areas around Mulberry Street. Our responsibilities also extend up into Orange Street. So Mr. Mitchell has done what he thought and what has historically and traditionally been done regarding these properties along this particular stretch of land and properties. So it was no disrespect to any other neighborhood councils or entities. He reached out as the GIS map directed him to do so. And historically, the Maple High Six Corners Neighborhood Council has been the entity that has written or either letters of support or refused to support projects in these general areas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Councilor Edwards. I'm aware of redistricting. I was actually the chief of staff for the chair of the state when we actually drew out the lines.
They're not matched.
So it's still kind of when you're talking about the area. We just had an incident where we had a council that was put in our area and the community didn't know about it. They weren't and it kind of rubbed the community the wrong way, and it happened to be over in that same corridor. I'm aware that you might have met with the Six Corners Council, but I would definitely reach out to the Old Hill Council and get them to buy on, to make sure that the people over there, like, because that's still, you know, I know when I'm over there canvassing, it could be Ward 4 along the whole street and 2 houses can be 5. That's kind of like where this is kind of where it is in your case. So I would definitely would want you guys to try to reach out to that Old Hill Council and get in buy-in support from the actual some of the people in the Ward 4 area, because it's basically right dead in the middle of my ward. Thank you.
Councilor Brown, Councilor Walsh, followed by Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, Mr. Mitchell. I just wanted to get a little background because I believe you've been before us before and you've had other projects. Is that true?
No, I believe I was not recently. So I would say the last project I met with the Economic Development Subcommittee, and it was the same project, in fact. But I don't think I've been in front of the city council for some time now.
Well, I know you've been involved in the city. I was just giving you a plug so you could give us a little background, because I'm supporting your project and I know you'll do a good job.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, the brief background for most of the city councils on the call and others that, you know, I've been involved in the city for more than probably half of my life. I worked in city government. And a lot of the projects that I did in these neighborhoods were mostly under the guidelines of the Office of Community Development when I worked there. So I'm familiar with, project management and neighborhood development. So this gives me an opportunity to kind of do it a little differently where I'm doing it as a private citizen.
And the Kavanaugh, the former store, it's near Stick and other schools. Are you going to target students at all, or what's your market? Who are you going to try to attract for the housing?
Oh, well, very good question. So the housing, we have a partnership right now with a local nonprofit organization who will acquire probably half of the commercial space for their program space. And they have committed to take 25 of the 31 units. But the other 6 units, give or take, we'll figure out how we market those strategically, and they're going to be affordable housing units for anybody in the marketplace that would like to live in a new housing development.
And is there parking?
Yes, there is, and we'll certainly get to that. So right now we have in this new design 46 parking spaces, and I'm sure that Mr. Dromey can kind of speak to the nuances around the parking. But I think the upside for us with this development is most of the spaces or most of the tenants that are occupying this space don't drive. And right now, I think there's maybe 2 or 3 residents who actually will be driving. Most of them will be participants of the nonprofit organization, and they use public transportation or they get transportation via the organization. So I think that was a really good, that worked for us. That was a strategic alignment that we didn't account for. So that kind of, I think, resolve some of the parking issues that could come up if we had just regular market rate tenants that had vehicles.
Well, thanks for the information and good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Govan, followed by Councilor Davila.
I guess my question was about the council, the neighborhood council lines and the wards. I thought that Commerce was in Ward 3. Is that true or no?
Phil, I know you raised your hand. Mr. Dromey, I know you raised your hand on that item. Do you mind speaking to that?
Well, I can just speak to the neighborhood. This does fall into the Six Corners neighborhood. Old Hill, technically, although they may want to have a say in this. The Old Hill, again, according to the mapping, doesn't start until you get to the other side of Walnut Street. So I could quickly bring up a ward map. I'm on the GIS now, but I was double checking the neighborhood plan because I do send, again, I do send petitioners to the neighborhood councils in which they fall in, but I'm not 100% sure what ward it's in.
Counselors, just to speak to the ward versus neighborhood issue, I think that we're getting hung up on those 2 different pieces, and the neighborhood councils will change as the ward will remain the same, even though the wards are changing based on the redistricting. So I think we should probably separate those 2. Doesn't matter what ward it's in. If you're looking to actually bring this matter before the neighborhood councils, those will always stay the same. They do not change when the redistricting happens.
Right. So yeah. So I guess, and my question is for Mr. Mitchell. So there's going to be 31 affordable housing units, so that a nonprofit entity is going to be on the ground floor.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. All right, and they'll be in charge of 25 of those units?
No, they won't be in charge of them, but what they will do is they've committed to occupy at least 25 of those units. And that number could go up to 29, but right now they're committed to 25 of the 31 units.
So they're putting in, say 25 people in there who need affordable housing?
Correct. Okay. And then we will manage that development.
I see. Okay, well, thank you so much. It sounds like a very good project. I remember the Kavanaugh furniture store there when I went to Commerce. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Davila, followed by Councilor Hurst.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe Mr. Mitchell. Thank you for being here. I think my first question is the issue with the actual neighborhood. If I may, Mr. President, Phil, Did you say that which neighborhood it belongs to? Just to be clear on that, or does it belong to both?
This falls into the Six Corners neighborhood.
Okay, Six Corners. Okay. Very well. And because I know that happens here in Forest Park where we have the area, sometimes we have to scratch our heads and look at the map to see exactly where it falls. But okay, so Six Corners. Now, Mr. Mitchell, did you say you're gonna have 25 affordable housing units?
There'll be 31, but
31.
25 of them are committed.
Committed to affordable housing?
No, 31 are affordable housing units, but we have a nonprofit organization that has agreed to take 25 of those units.
Excellent. Okay, good. Now, you said the parking, you say that most with the nonprofits going to align strategically, and most of the people are going to be taking buses. But you are going to have some parking, correct?
Yes, we'll have 46 parking spaces, and that,
40
yes, yep.
Where?
On the south side of the building, there's a retaining wall. So if you're looking at the Kavanaugh building, you see a parking lot that abuts it to the south side. Most people don't know it goes all the way back to the property line, so it drops down, and there's about another 10,000 square feet.
How long has that building been empty?
I think close to 20 years.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yep.
This is great. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Hurst, followed by Councilor Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to say that I fully support this project. Mr. Mitchell, I'm excited about the possibility of you revitalizing the Kavanaugh building. As we know, this certainly is a staple and has been a staple in the community for years. I also want to highlight the fact that it's a rarity that we have individuals who are taking ownership of this building and who are investing this magnitude of money actually reflect the community that they serve. And so you certainly are reflective of the community that you serve. And so I'm excited that, you've decided to invest in the community that you are quite familiar with. So I certainly know that you'll do a good job, and I appreciate your investment.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate your support here and obviously over the years that we talked, but this is a great project. I think it checks off a lot of boxes for the city. We're working closely with a great nonprofit organization. We're going to be able to create new businesses that will occupy the space, and we're going to have a lot of diverse participation in the project from the front end of it to the back end of it. So we're really excited. We've talked to a couple of our neighbors already. We've reached out to Commerce High School to talk about a potential partnership for some of those students that walk by the building presumably every day. And we've been in contact with some of the leadership from Springfield Public School Systems to talk about a larger partnership, not only with Commerce, but with the Springfield Public School System. So we're excited, and we're really looking forward to it. So thanks again for your support.
Excellent.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilor Hurst. Councilor Curran.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Mr. Mitchell.
Good evening.
I just had a question. What is the nonprofit that your organization is partnering up with? What is the nonprofit?
The nonprofit is MHA, Mental Health Associates.
Okay. And I had a question. We had a developer recently on State Street. There's going to be two developments there, the old school department building and the old land bank. As you know, there's been some major issues with the traffic on State Street. Has there been a traffic study done on this, on the impact it's going to be, at least on the State Street corridor? And maybe Phil can speak to that, obviously, with the State Street situation and how this might impact that. And I guess the third question would be, has anyone reached out to STCC in regards to this project and perhaps their thoughts?
So I guess I'll speak to the first question around a traffic study. I'm not familiar with any recent traffic studies. I know there have been a ton of studies regarding the State Street corridor, and I imagine there are some studies that the planning department has, but I'm not familiar with any recent studies. Secondly, we did reach out to the folks over at Stick just to inform them about the possibility of this project, and previously the gun block when we had looked at that as a first option. So they are familiar with the project, and we told them like we would keep them involved every step of the way, just really just being good neighbors. And at some point when the opportunity presents itself, we want to figure out a way where, again, there's a partnership with a Stick that could be a natural tie into the project.
I guess, thank you, Mr. President. I guess to Phil Dromey, I don't know if Tim Sheehan's on the line, but I mean, Phil, I mean, how does this, what is the impact on this? Obviously, we had the fatalities on State Street earlier in the year, and obviously this project, along with the other developments further down State Street, is going to add quite a bit of foot traffic, at least, onto State Street. Is there any position of the administration as to the impact in regards to the State Street redesign?
I really can't speak to that. I know the redesign is for Lower State Street. This area of State Street does have the medium in the middle, and there's a number of crosswalks already installed, one specifically for Commerce and one on the corner of State and Walnut. So I with regards to the impact of traffic, I'd have to defer to DPW. I know the redesign is for Lower State Street, not this portion of State Street.
If I just have one further question for Mr. Mitchell. Hey, Mr. Mitchell, was there any thought perhaps of 2-bedroom units, or why 1-bedroom units at that particular property?
Well, I mean, we looked at really a mixed use for the building. Well, we looked at a mixed use in terms of 1 and 2-bedroom units. Then when we started getting into more really detailed conversations with MHA, like that's the population that they mostly serve, and we just thought that was a better fit.
And just a further question. So is this going to be, this would be former patients of MHA, or how exactly is it? Could you give us a little bit more?
Yeah, so I mean, they're just participants. They're participants in a nonprofit organization. So this is just some of the folks that they serve, their clientele. I wouldn't necessarily call them patients. I would just call them, program participants, and they have a large clientele that they serve, and most of them that are in a housing shortage seem to be 1-bedroom units that was in demand. So we just figured it just made perfect sense to help them meet that demand.
And is there anyone from MHA on the line tonight at all?
I don't think so.
Councilor Curran, you can put in that request if needed for the next hearing.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Curran. Are there any other questions at this time? Seeing none, is there any further deliberation? Also seeing none, I will entertain a motion to continue the item then.
Motion to continue.
Motion made by Councilor Edwards, seconded by Councilor Walsh. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to continue?
On continuing, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Kern.
No.
No, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Abstain.
Abstain, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Councilor Hurst, you're muted.
Sorry, yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield. Absent, Councilor Williams.
Yes, the item has been continued. Thank you, councilors. Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
The next item is for a special permit. It's to amend an existing special permit granted May 2014 and amended in June 2021 by allowing the change to be approved site plan expanding the property known as 9 York Street.
Great, thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anyone present to speak to the special permit? If so, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. President. Timothy Ryan. 72.
know your case.
How are you?
I'm well. We are joined by our former colleague, Counselor Ryan. You have the floor. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Here on behalf of Jeb Belize, this is a petition to amend the existing special permit, which serves 793-703 or 693-703 East Columbus Ave. And the amendment that is sought, Mr. President, is to allow the property that was 9 York Street to be incorporated into it. In the packet before you, there's a schematic that shows how the York Street, as you will recall, is a one-way street that goes from Main to East Columbus Ave. And this would allow traffic to enter into the site at the Main Street side of the property on York Street, and then to move through the site and to move through the car wash. And the reason this is being requested is to alleviate traffic congestion that sometimes occurs on East Columbus Ave, as I understand it, and to allow for a more orderly movement of the traffic through the site. The site has been engineered by Fuss and O'Neill. John Allard, I believe, is also on the call, and it's been approved by the planning department. The proposed new plan has greenscapes. It has dividers on the traffic way so that there'll be no movement back and forth. And I believe it's received the approval of Mr. Dromey of the planning department. I know that Mr. Belize is in regular contact with Mr. Florian of the South End Community Center, and I have every reason to expect that the South End Community Center, or Citizens Council, excuse me, is in favor of this plan, because I know they were involved, and I was involved with the hearing before the Historic Commission to remove the building that was formerly at 9 York Street. And the South End Citizens Council was there and in favor of that move. And so this is all part of a move by Belize to make this site even better than what was initially built.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ryan. And with that, Madam Clerk, I'll ask, have we received any testimony for those in favor of the special permit? Madam Clerk?
Trying to unmute myself. We have not.
Have we received any in opposition?
We have not.
All right, with that, I will take any questions from the council body or the petitioner at this time. Mr. Walsh?
Thank you. Nice to see you, former colleague Ryan. Maybe my cousin, I'm not sure. I'm familiar with this car wash, and will this make it safer? Because there does seem to be congestion sometimes down there.
John, do you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. John Allard from Fuss and O'Neill.
I'm sorry, your address as well for the record?
1550 Main Street in Springfield. Would I be able to share my screen?
Yes. You should have sharing capabilities.
Okay. All right. So up should be an aerial image of the site here. Okay. So this is a really recent aerial image of the site. This was the area of 9 York Street that was talking about. The building here has been demolished, and in anticipation of kind of making within the traffic circulation within the site just better and safer. Councilors might recognize this project as it came through the I believe last year, where Mr. Belize was realigning the vacuum area. It had been along the driveway here, and just to make everything safer so that people wouldn't be backing out into oncoming traffic coming in. He put the vacuums in its own little parking lot to avoid any vehicular incidents. Similarly, that's the goal of this project. As you can see, there is one entrance off of York Street and then one entrance off of East Columbus. And York Street is one way coming from Main Street to East Columbus. We are proposing that the entrance be moved up the street a little bit. And this will allow better circulation for the site. And I'll show a site plan in a little bit, but I think this really, this picture really shows how the movement from the car wash is right now. So this would be the line to get into the touchless area of the car wash. People will line up here and go around, enter on the East Columbus side, exit on this side, and you can kind of see where the wet pavement is and the movements of people on site right now. A bulk of the movement is out to York Street, which poses a little bit of a problem when there is a queue of cars here. So people are struggling to get out here, and then if the queue comes all the way around, you have larger trucks struggling to get out because they have less of a turning radius to get out this way. So we've proposed to, and you can see in this plan, it's this is the, on the right, this is the roadway coming up from East Columbus, and this is York Street. Main Street would be up towards the top of the page, East Columbus at the bottom of the page. Right now, the entrance to the site is right here off of York Street. We're pushing it up east towards Columbus Avenue, and not allowing the movement from the car wash out to go out York Street right away. So that will help eliminate the vehicular conflicts there. So people coming out of the car wash will need to go out, and then they can either exit East Columbus or out to York Street. This will also increase the queuing and just have better circulation throughout the site. We are planning on planting and improving the stormwater on site. There's a detention basin in the middle of the site, and then landscaping the perimeter of the site. And you can see that this is the landscaping that will be going into the site. It'll buffer the neighboring properties. McDonald's is up towards the east. And that's really it.
All right, thank you. If you could stop sharing so we can see the full screen.
Yep, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Does that satisfy your question?
Yeah, it answers my question.
All right, are there any other questions at this time from the council? Seeing none, is there any further deliberation? Councilor Davila.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I couldn't get to the mute on time. So first of all, Attorney Councilor Ryan, welcome back to Chamber, sir. It's a pleasure to see you. John, so just to be clear, so York Street is going to remain one way then?
Yes, York Street is going to be remaining one way. Yep.
So all we're doing is just moving the entrance on York Street a little. Okay, so there's nothing where the building was that was knocked down. Nothing else going to be there. It's just going to be pavement and the entrance.
Correct.
Okay, and also it's going to have the appropriate shrubs and flowers and. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Davila. Are there any other comments for deliberation at this time? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion then to continue the item.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Davila, seconded by Councilor Walsh. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to continue?
On continuing the item, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Kern.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield. Absent, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the item has been continued. Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
The next item is item number 4 to amend an existing special permit granted March 2021 by allowing a change to the petitioner for motor vehicle sales portion of the operation at the properties known as 484 Boston Road, 472 Boston Road, and north side of Boston Road.
All right, if there's anyone present to speak to this special permit, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, hi there. My name is Sanjay Patel. I'm owner, and I also presently operate the facility as a car dealership and mechanical work there. And I live in West Springfield, 592 Bernie Ave.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Well, actually, first, before we get to questions from the council, Madam Clerk, I'll ask, have we received any testimony for those in favor of the special permit?
We have not.
All right, and how about in opposition?
We have not.
All right, at this time, are there any questions from the council for Mr. Patel? Seeing none, is there any deliberation at this time amongst the council? Also seeing none at this time, then I will entertain a motion to continue the special permit.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made with Councilor Allen, seconded by Councilor Perez. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
And continuing the item, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Kern.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield. Absent, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the item has been continued. The next item, please.
The next item is for a special permit to operate an adult use marijuana establishment, storefront retail on a portion of the properties known as Southside Boston Road, West Side Lamont Street, and East Side Morton Street.
All right, if there's anyone to speak to the special permit, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Sabino Caracciolo, 46 Moore Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts.
Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. I am born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts. I'm the president and a partner in Cure Retailers LLC. We're here before you tonight seeking approval for a special permit for a cannabis retail establishment on 461 Boston Road, Springfield. It was the I'll slow down while he can get the slides up here as we have a presentation prepared for you today. So here we go. Looks like we're ready. 461 Boston Road, Springfield. That was the former Russell's Restaurant site that has been demolished and vacant for more than a decade so far. Our proposal actually involves two sites here. So as for the next slide, the two parts of the project are to build a new 3,000 square foot retail building for the purpose of dispensing adult use cannabis. It's a total of an acre of community redevelopment. It also includes a third of an acre on the adjacent lot, which we are dedicating to a community green space, pocket park, sort of used for the property as a benefit for the community. What I'm going to do here is give you a brief overview of the project, myself and my team. It's going to be followed up with the technical engineering inputs from our engineering team on the back end, more related to the site and building. And then we can open it up for questions from any of the council members after that, if that's okay with you. So picking up where we left off, it's about a $1.2 million investment in the building and an additional $175,000 investment in the adjacent lot for the pocket park and green zone. So our construction team has committed to a 9-month timeline from start of the construction project, using all local construction, architects, engineering, vendors from the area. Speaking to our experience as a team, we have over a decade in the regulated cannabis industry. Our capital partners and our internal team combined have worked with over 30 companies all over the country in different verticals of the cannabis space, including operations more local in Massachusetts as well. We brought on Ryan McCullum, which some of you may have known, to help lead our local community and entrepreneurial efforts within the community. I'll hand it off to our other partner, Ezra, to speak some more technical things in regards to security and compliance.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Ezra Parzubak. I'm at 30 Norwood in Florence, Massachusetts. And I'm on part of the team, proud to be a part of this project. I mainly focus on compliance, licensing. And so the state rules and the city rules require a lot of inspecting. Our security is compliant with cameras and panic alarms, and the whole site is viewable through monitoring systems, and we will have dark sky compliant but well lit. Right now there is no light at that space. It's a dirt lot with broken glass, so it's going to be a nice, clean, secure site. All transportation and delivery of any cannabis product is incredibly secure. 2 people in the vehicle, manifests and GPS tracking on both sides. A seed to sale tracking in the regulated cannabis industry is also very robust, where the moment a plant is started to the moment it gets handed to a customer and they bring it to their vehicle and take it home, it's completely tracked. That product is tested to be safe and clean and correctly labeled. And so the regulated system in Massachusetts, I think we just reached $3 billion of sales. And I think it's fair to say that the security and safety of this industry is very robust. Additionally, for anyone who might wonder about the neighborhood or what it brings, what one of these retails bring, all staff are background checked, and staff are also trained to look out for things. No one can linger in the parking lot. No one can open a product in the parking lot. They have to keep that site safe, keep it compliant, and it's top priority to have eyes on this part of the neighborhood to be connected to this neighborhood and the safety of it. And what they found, just to give you a data point nationwide, that property values, this is close to residences, and property values actually increase when cannabis retails go into the neighborhoods, because they're often going into places like this that need revitalization. We also, went deep into looking at Springfield and working with Ryan, and the city and people like Phil over the years, Phil Dromey over the years, to really just dig deep into what is Springfield's mission and their mission to educate, to engage and advocate for recovery for drugs. So we want to be committed to that and be a safe, regulated legal system for adult use. And Springfield also has a community response network, which is really interesting. And so managers at our facility will apply for that. And that means our facility is a safe space, or can be a safe space if there is a need in the community in the event of a natural disaster, things like that. So that's another way we're committed to and communicating with the city. We had a robust traffic statement done, and it was nominal, but not just that. I mean, it's on the busy Boston Road. This building and the whole site and the beautiful landscaping that's going to happen is really going to provide a new layer of buffering from the traffic. It will make the neighborhood quieter, and then all new sidewalks. Right now, kids have to walk across that site. The sidewalks are crumbling. There's going to be fresh, clean, new sidewalks all around the site. This is going to encourage people and employees. They'll feel safe. They can walk to work. We want to encourage that to use PVTA, and they can be subsidized. And then just to really follow up with where we are in terms of this almost 3-year process working with the Pine Point Neighborhood Council. And this was a really powerful letter. So the very closest homeowner to us, the Segundo family, they've been there for 20 years. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I just want to read this last sentence where Eric Segundo, a veteran, been there, father of kids who've grown up there. He says, "It is time that the city give approval for this project that will not only improve our neighborhood, but also start to bring this area back from its years of abandonment." So we really appreciated working with the Segundos over the years. They've been a huge help. John Lysek, the president of Pine Point Council, also, he said, if you need a new letter, I'm happy to do it, but we have this original one from 2019. John also says, we humbly ask the members of the city council to vote in favor of this project, as we feel it will be a welcome addition to the neighborhood. With that, I'm going to pass it on to another local partner, Ryan McCollum.
Ryan McCullum, 12 Longmeadow Street, Longmeadow, Massachusetts. Thank you, council. Thank you, Mr. President, for your time. I'm not going to belabor any of this because I know it's getting later in the night. But I was glad that Waleska DeJesus has joined us as well on this project. Many of you know her, folks who don't. She's an expert in diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. So she's going to help us with having diverse employment in Springfield. We're also really looking at an entrepreneur incubation hub. As you know, and as you've heard from petitioner after petitioner, when it comes to adult use and other cannabis use, the Massachusetts legislature found it within their wisdom that, those who are disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs should also be a part of this new industry. And so we want to make sure, and we want to prioritize that folks who have been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs are part of this industry. And that's how we can do it, with helping folks who do want to be part of it, and sharing the wisdom of this team with them. And we're talking about 16 to 22 jobs that are good paying jobs. Bottom line, I mean, that's the site as it looks today. I remember as a child doing some business up there, or going with my mother and father doing business over in that area where Angelo's had a wonderful fruit market. I think my first bank account was at the SIS right there. There was a fish market there. It was stuff to do up there. And so right now, it's kind of outside of the neighborhoods that are tucked behind on the side streets of Boston Road. It seems like a place where people are just driving through, they stop and it doesn't have that vitality that it should. So we want to help revitalize the neighborhood as well. And, you've seen me on a couple of these different petitions, and this is so unique, this pocket park. I mean, to activate some green space, to have a pocket park for the neighborhood to use. We talked to the neighborhood council. We've talked to my guy who owns Iona's. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he has a nonprofit that Sabino has spent some real time helping. And, I kind of envision it like Steiger's Park in downtown, where there could be food trucks there if they get the proper licenses. We could have farmers market there, concerts, just another space to activate for the neighborhood to use. I haven't seen any cannabis petitioner do this so far. So it's really unique, and I think it'll be awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. If the council wants us to continue, we're happy to. We have our engineer here, Dana Steele, who can walk through the technicalities of the site itself, the floor plan, curb cuts, things like that. He would be sharing his screen.
Ezra, yeah, I'll allow the council, if it's to their liking, ask about that information. But also just a reminder that there will be another bite at the apple in the form of a second hearing that you all will have, where all that information additionally can be shared just the same. So with that, if you wouldn't mind just stop sharing, I can turn it over to the council for questions.
I will do my best to stop sharing. Here we go.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, and with that, I will turn it to the council for any questions at this time. Councilor Davila, followed by Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening to all. Mr. McCollum, good evening, sir. Good presentation, very exciting, particularly the hubs, the entrepreneur and the incubator. I like that a lot, the hub. But I do have a technical question, and I don't foresee this being a problem, just kind of doing my duty as a counselor. The buffing, I know this Bali school. How far are you from the school?
So I can respond to that. From the for the record, Dana Steele, I'm a professional engineer and principal of J.R. Russo and Associates. Our office is at 1 Shoham Road in East Windsor. And the buffering or separation from the schools was something that that we were concerned about and came up initially in looking at this parcel. So the separation, I believe, is 500 feet from the school, and the parcel that is being proposed for the pocket park, I think was mentioned, that is within that 500-foot area, but the parcel that we are developing for this is outside of that limit.
Okay, so just make sure that I understood correctly. There's portion of the property that are within the buffer zone, but where you are going to open is not.
Well, there are currently 2 parcels that are under the same ownership, and they're being reconfigured so that the parcel B, where the pocket park is going to be, is within that 500 feet. Parcel A, where the development is outside of that 500 feet.
Got you. Would that be the same thing for Our Lady of the Sacred Heart Church school there? I know they have a school there as well. Or they used to. I'm not sure if they still have a school there.
Not familiar with that, so I can take a look.
Well, that just trying to jump in, counselors. That is the school, but the church is closer, but the church does not. There is no buffer required from a church. So the school itself, this property is over 500 feet away from the school.
Okay, so I know the church itself, it's actually open and operating. I know that doesn't fall within the requirements, but the school itself, I'm not sure. Did they close for the church?
Well, I did, but I think the city's running a school out of there now, I believe.
But that's still outside of the buffer zone, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Just doing my fiduciary duty here. Other than that, it was a great presentation. I look forward to a more robust discussion, good presentation, and best of luck to you.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. Yeah, could you explain the relationship? Is this a national company? Is it Kerr or Kier or something? Or is this a totally local independent operation? I just wasn't clear on that when you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm going to direct that question to Sabino. Go ahead. I'm happy to answer too, Sabino, but go ahead, just since you're.
Yep, sure. So Cure Retailers was a local team ownership. Obviously, as you know, as most of these businesses go, and business in general, when it's time to actually move forward and we won, we have to turn to some capital providers. So we were lucky and fortunate enough to find some capital providers to help fund this. Obviously, this project is a lot more capital intensive than a traditional one, considering the redevelopment, in the Pocket Park. So we have brought on capital partners that I would consider smart money. They're also operators in other states. So, you know, we're very confident that the combined teams have all the talent, skills, and capital necessary to move this forward. As sure, you know, no one wants to see these things not open, you know, the tax money not going where it should. And, you know, for us, we really just want to see that neighborhood get redeveloped and help revitalize it. So I hope that answers your question, that originally it started just a local team. And as we brought on capital, we've taken on, you know, a partnership with a national company.
Thank you. Do they, my only follow-up to that is, do they have presence, this national company, in any of the other Massachusetts markets?
They do. I'll answer that, Sabino. They actually happen to be another client of mine. So it was, you know, serendipitous. And so they do. They're in Northampton and East Hampton. They have a grand opening in Northampton coming up next week, I believe. I think Brian Horrigan, who represents the company, is on the meeting as well. So they are a company that is doing business in Massachusetts currently and doing it quite well.
And are they, do they, thank you, Brian, do they use the same name there?
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Brian Horrigan. I represent the capital partners that came in, and we operate. We have a brand doing business as Ember up there in Northampton. We have another site in East Hampton, but we've been very bullish on Springfield in the location. We just opened those stores up there this year, last couple months, one just a month ago. And we worked with Ryan. We did actually in the phase 2 submission. We did submit an application, retained Ryan throughout that process. And he was a marriage broker because he brought us together with Sabino and Ezra and his team, and kind of like-minded. We saw a lot of shared beliefs, and you know, counting on them for the local guidance and expertise. But obviously, like Sabino said, it's capital intensive and want to get out of the box, and that's what we're bringing to the table. We do operate in other states with an uncheckered, you know, record of compliance as well.
And I'm sorry, can you please state your full name and address for the record?
Apologize. It's Brian Horrigan. I reside in Wilmington, North Carolina, 825 Royal Bonnet Court, Wilmington, North Carolina.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. President, I'm all set with their answers for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Allen. Are there any other questions at this time? Seeing none, is there any further deliberation? Also seeing none, I will then entertain a motion to continue this item.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Allen, seconded by Councilor Govan. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to continue?
On continuing the item, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown. Councilor Brown. Away, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Abstain.
Abstain, Councilor Whitfield. Absent, Councilor Williams.
Yes, this item has been continued. Thank you all for joining. Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
Next item is for a special permit for motor vehicle sales at the property known as 961 East Columbus Avenue.
All right, is there anyone present to speak to this? If so, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Jeremy Ober. I am the owner of 961 East Columbus Avenue.
Thank you. You have the floor. I'm sorry, Mr. Ober, is your video working by chance?
I've never done this before, so bear with me. How do I get this to turn on?
No worries if you're having complications. I was just wondering, I see a black screen.
I see a black screen also. I had it on earlier.
Feel free to proceed, no worries.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Yes, so I own 961 East Columbus Avenue. That's currently automotive repair facility, and I'd like to obtain a Class 2 used car license, just to do a couple cars a month. Very small operation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ober. With that, Madam Clerk, I will ask, have we received any testimony for those that are in favor of the special permit?
We have not.
All right, in opposition?
We've received one piece of testimony in opposition, and I'm just going to preface me reading it by saying that the council has received this. It's pretty lengthy. There's 4 pages. So I'm going to try to summarize as best I can.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
It was submitted by Philip Malmborg, who resides at 39 Lombard Street in Springfield, dated May 14th. It reads in part, Dear City Council, I am opposed to special permit for motor vehicle sales for the property known as 961 East Columbus Avenue for the following reasons. This property address is not located on Columbus Avenue. The building and business entirely face Lombard Street, and Lombard Street is a residential street. The business currently renting and doing business at this location, known as Pena Lopez Auto Repair, is already doing a thriving car repair business. They continue to park the cars on Lombard Street, even though parking on the street is limited and should be reserved for residents only. Currently, I've counted a total of 20 cars on the site, which is already too many cars to have at this location. Reason number 2, per the conditions of the special permit for 961 East Columbus Ave, condition number 7 states the front of the building shall be maintained for customers and employee parking only. Mr. Malmberg has submitted a copy of the original notice of decision from 2011, it looks like, and has circled his issue with the statement. On number 3, he also states that this day and age, a business needs to provide adequate customer parking to be a legitimate business. If sales of used cars are added to the auto repair business at this location, then where will customers park? The city council needs to address these issues before granting a special permit for motor vehicle sales. The city council needs to visit the site as well, and revisit the current existing permit for 961 East Columbus and add an additional condition. In conclusion, due to the number of cars already at this location, inadequate customer parking, the limited space available, and the residents of Lombard Street who would be affected, the addition of motor vehicle sales should not even be considered.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk, for that piece of testimony. And with that, I will turn it over to the council at this time for any questions for the petitioner. And I will ask, are there any questions for the petitioner? Councilor Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. President. There has, I've been contacted multiple times over the several months from residents of Lombard Street. Could you speak to the entirety of what was read just a moment ago is not what's sent out to the council. It was in fact about 4 pages of well-documented, or at least documented accusations. Could you take a moment to speak to some of the concerns? It is a narrow street. Parking is at a premium. I believe the auto body place it is operating. I'm trying to be careful and make no judgments as to its proper operation. But when I did drive down the street, there's enough for residents. But if you do have customers, or if you're working and you have, it seemed like there may be some real legitimate concerns. Could you take a moment to address those accusations, please?
Mr. Ober, you have the floor.
Oh, sorry. Yes, so that particular person has been complaining since day one, since let me give you a little background. I inherited that building 3 years ago when my father passed away. My father was running the same exact business out of there for 7 years. Nothing's changed. My father has had not one complaint against him. However, the minute the current tenants moved in there, they are not getting along with the complaint that you just listed. So there's been some clashes between the two. I am the owner of the building and I want to move my business from Hadley, where I am now. I just sold my building up here in Hadley, doing auto repair and used car sales. And I would like to move down there into my father's building and take over one of the offices in one of the bays. Now, when I am down there, things are going to be run a lot differently. And as far as parking on the street, they've had no customers parking on the street. There's no evidence, and that's not factual. There's plenty of parking in the facility itself. It has a storage unit that holds 10 to 12 cars, and in front of the building, it holds 6 cars. There's no more than 2 customers at any given moment on there. So how much parking do they need?
Well, I'm not going to try to, this is just the opening of the hearing. And
No, I understand. I understand.
As it was suggested, people should
Yeah.
do my colleagues should do their own investigations. But there was concern, I believe, when this application was originally brought before us and we granted the permit, I was under the impression that I believe the operators were supposed to be acquiring the house next door.
They did acquire it.
And so.
In the building,
I'm sorry, Mr. Ober. I'm sorry, Mr. Ober. Can you allow Councilor Edwards just to finish his comment, please?
Yes, sorry.
I'm not, I'm just, this is just the opening of the hearing, but Mr. Ober is probably the loudest voice on the neighborhoods on the street, but he's not the only one. And the idea that the customers that are coming, there's only 2 customers. The reality of how businesses and auto body places operate, this is not to cast any dispersions on this particular operation. In general, auto body repair places are hoarders. And the nature of the businesses is that if you have people coming to do work and you turn them away, they'll go, and especially if you need your car fixed and you need it quickly, you go somewhere else. So they don't turn people away. What I think may be part of the problem is the expectation that you only have 2 or 3 customers at a particular time, but you don't control when people show up. And then the problem then becomes the people who live there on a regular basis. It's not permanent parking on that street. So as they come to inquire, as they come to pick up their car, as they come in to pick up their car, and whoever drove them down there is waiting to see if it's done before they drive away. Those are all things that contribute to the, and it's not a constant like 24 hours or all day event, but when it is congested, it is the neighbors who are most impacted. So what you're suggesting is that if we grant you a permit to operate there, whatever the concerns that exist, that while you are not there at the present time being complained about with the operation of the auto body business, how would we consider it not be compounded by the fact that you would be taking up more spaces for your cars to be shown and for potential customers to come test drive and potentially buy the cars?
Because I'm the owner of the property and I'll be on site once I move down there to manage things better with the tenant that's currently there. I'll have better handle on it with me being there as far as parking and everything, rather than just taking a tenant's word for it. And I'm living up here in Hadley and currently operating out of Hadley right now. Well, I think it's in the best interest of everybody if I'm down there to manage the building that I own.
Oh, I won't. No, nobody would argue. All these types of all business problems start with good or poor management, and so I'm done. I just making you aware of what I would have heard. I mean, I've got the calls. I've had conversations with the president of the Southside Neighborhood Council. I've had conversations with Mr. Lombard, or the gentleman in question. I've also spoke to other neighbors on the street, as well as the vice president of the neighborhood council. So this is not a new issue for me. It may be new to my colleagues because of the request for the permit, but this has been an ongoing issue, and I've spent quite a bit of time respectfully on the phone listening to the complaints. But thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Before we get to Councilor Davila, Phil, did you have a remark on something that was mentioned?
Well, I just want to say, as I wrote in my analysis, the day that I went down there, the site was packed. There was absolutely no room on the site for any additional vehicles. So I tend to agree with the neighbor. I don't know whether Mr. Ober I did have a conversation with the current tenant who indicated to me they were going to make room. I guess they purchased the building behind them as well, but there was, you know, there was no argument, and the pictures show it in my analysis. There was zero room for any more vehicles to be stored in that lot, and the lot itself is less than 5,000 square feet, so it's a small parcel to begin with. But there were more than 2 customers there. There was absolutely 0 parking spaces when I drove by and took pictures of the site.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dromi. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Phil, quick question for you, my good sir. The current permit, how many parking spaces are they allowed?
Well, I mean, I can only go by, you know, looking at the aerial photo. It looks like they've got probably 6 or 7 along the building, and then in the plan they showed, they had an additional 5 in the lot, kind of the vacant area. Just to the east of the building, you know, in the site plan that they submitted with the application for the special permit, that's where they showed they were going to store the used vehicles. However, the day that I drove by there was probably 8 or 9 vehicles in that area, as well as all the parking along the front of the bays was full.
Right. Phil, when you get a chance, if you could, sir, if you could forward those plans. Unfortunately, I don't seem to have them on my packet. If you could forward that to me, please.
They were included as part of my analysis.
I don't see them here, but if you can just re-forward that to me, you are the clerk, Madam Clerk. So basically, if I understand it correctly, they have currently in the current permit 6 to 7 parking. They want to sell vehicles, and they're adding another roughly 5 extra spots to sell the vehicles.
Well, that's what their plan showed. Whether or not they're going to actually have. It actually shows, the plan only shows, you know, it shows 5 spaces, but only 2 saying used cars. So again, in my conversations with the operator of the use now, she indicated to me they wanted to be able to sell a couple cars. I'm not sure whether they're planning. I'm not sure the exact number, but.
Will you be able to speak to how many, because this is one of the things that the resident, which by the way, he wrote an absolutely excellent letter. My compliments to him, Mr. Philip Malmborg. How many parking spaces are they supposed to have? Because he speaks to that on his concerns. Or is that included, folded into the 6 or 7 parking spaces?
I think that's probably all included into the parking spaces. I'm not sure. You know, this is due to the size of the parcel. This overall is just considered to be a pre-existing non-conforming use, so it probably doesn't have the required number of spaces.
Correct. 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 Mr. President, thank you, Phil. Mr. President, do we know, is Mr. Pena available, sir? If that's his name. No. I know we have Mr. Over here, who's the owner of the building, but the actual owner of the business, I'm going to assume it's Mr. Pena. Mr. Pena.
Yeah, I don't believe so, Counselor. I'm looking at the folks right now.
Yeah, if I may suggest humbly, sir, I think it will be appropriate for him to be here at the next hearing to answer some of these questions. But Mr.
Can I make a comment, please, as the owner?
Well, I was going to ask you a question, sir. If you could just, you know, maybe you can speak to that. So, so I understand that you said you want to move into the building. For what purpose? You mentioned something in office. I was a little confused with that. Why would you come into the building? In addition to Mr. Pena?
Because I just sold my business in Hadley. I had an auto repair used car license up here in Hadley. My father passed away a couple years ago. I inherited that building, so it doesn't make sense to keep 2 buildings with all the expenses. So I want to move into some of the space down there at 961 East Columbus Avenue as the owner, and I'd like to do, you know, 2 to 4 cars a month.
So I see. So you want to come in and sell there at that location? Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
Correct.
Okay.
And if I could just add one thing, please.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, obviously you drove by, or somebody did, and they saw customers' cars in that storage fence that holds 10 cars. And yes, you're looking at it as it's a conflict because I'm suggesting 4 cars for me. Well, obviously they're parking there now because I don't have a license to park my 2 to 4 cars there. But if I do get my license, they're not going to be parking all those cars. in that storage area anymore, because I'm gonna be parking 2 to 4 there. So obviously they can use it now as they see fit until I arrive, is my opinion.
Mr. Ober, I don't mean to engage in a lengthy conversation with you on this, but I just got confused by what you just said. Are you saying that there is 4 cars being parked there, but when you move, you're gonna park another 4 and somehow it's gonna be different?
No, there's probably 8 to 10 cars being parked there for the Pina Auto Repair business.
Are you saying that there's 8 to 10 parked cars more
Total
from what they're allowed to park?
There's 8 to 10 in the storage facility, and there's 6 in front of the building total today.
Is that storage facility allowed to be there?
Yes.
Phil, is that correct?
Been there
Well,
since the building was built.
I mean, I guess
that doesn't mean that it's.
Mr. Dromey, I'm sorry. Can we give the floor to Mr. Dromey, please?
Well, again, it has a special for motor vehicle repairs, storing unregistered inoperable vehicles over 30 days. You know, whether or not they're there for more than that time is the question. You know, once you start storing those cars, you know, when I drove by, there were a number of unregistered vehicles in that area. How long they've been there, I don't know, but you do become quote unquote a junkyard after 30 days, which is not allowed. So you know, although they're a repair shop, there are limitations to vehicles that can be stored.
That is very correct. Mr. Ober, I bring that up because I know that there has been an issue in the past here. I do understand what you're saying, sir. But
I make one last quick comment and then I won't say anything.
No, you may not. Just give me a second, please. I'm going to be honest with you, with all due respect. I don't think this is starting well for you. I think I'm a little concerned with you saying that when I'm there, things are going to be better. One thing in the council here, sir, quite often with special permits, we're promised the sky and pie on the sky, and we get nothing but the frosting on the lollipop. And my concern with that area, sir, is that it's a very congested area. It's a very narrow street. There's people that live there. They're their homes, and we need to respect that. And you have the casino there. You have a lot of traffic there. You said a little while ago you should have no more than 4 or 5 cars there. I just did a quick Google search. There's 8 cars there parked according to the picture. So Mr. Over, I do look forward to more clarity on this because you've been there for a long time, and I realize that you are contributing to the city, but we also got to ensure the integrity of the neighborhood, particularly in that area, because the South End is a staple of the community. Those are my questions, Mr. President. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Edwards, followed by Councilor Perez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'll just simply state that I've been on the council for 13 years. Special permits have always been an issue in terms, especially when it comes to auto body. Back 13 years ago, it was the Pine Point Neighborhood Council and that was complaining about the high number of them, the bad practices of these operations. I am not opposed to these types of operations when they're run correctly. But when we grant a special permit, and if you remember, I think the last time I spoke out so fervently against a special permit was the present site of the Sheriff's Department on Mill Street when the gentleman was running a rooming house that was supposed to be for students or residents from Eastern Europe to work at Six Flags. We have to recognize that when we grant these permits to people, and this is not, mean no disrespect to the present applicant, but have we ever had anybody that came and asked for a special permit that told us that I'm not a good neighbor, I don't pay my taxes, and I'm not going to follow your rules? So I promise. And the problem is that once we grant these, and we know historically these types of things, when they're in close proximity to neighbors, it's the neighbors who suffer once we've granted them. Councilor Davila has advocated and worked real hard regarding a permit we granted in Forest Park that, with the wood chips and stuff, we know when we grant these things, we're kind of behind the ball on them. It was stated that the previous owner had no problems. Well, that may be true. He was part of the neighborhood and the volume of business that he did was probably different than what it is now. And of course, then it wasn't no casino. There was a lot less actual traffic through the area. But we do need to be careful when we grant these permits, because one of the things that I'm hopeful that as a council that we would consider as we move forward into the future is that we need to revamp and give better support for code enforcement and for the review of special permits across the city. So regardless of the type of special permit we grant, we have all as counselors have gotten too many calls from people complaining about the operation of a special permit. I believe most recently was the McDonald's, which I applaud the changes they've made down there on Main Street, but it was the same thing. We gave them a special permit, and then after the fact, we had to threaten them to get them to do the right thing. So I'm not speaking against this. I'm just asking respectfully for my colleagues to do their due diligence before we decide one way or another in what to grant this permit. But if we're having problems now, a promise of an expectation that we're going to allow for more cars to be legally on site and then expect it to actually be better because of a promise. And just let me just say what one of the complaints that was given from the original applicants when they were applying was they were acquiring a house to live in and what have you. One of the complaints that was forwarded to me or made me what I was made aware of at one point was the fact that the residential property that they were supposed to be staying with was in violation of city code for the number of unregistered cars that were being worked on or being stored on the residential site abutting the commercial property. So that's all. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Next is Councilor Perez, and then hopefully we can move to continue.
Yeah, I'm just going to be brief. I'm just going to have to align with my colleague, Davila. I think that because Mr. Over is over in Hatfield, Mr. Pena should be the one that should be here because he's the one that works on the daily operation. So we could have more feedback for recommendation. We should have Mr. Pena here so we could at least hear from him. And I have other questions as well as colleague Davila for him. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Councilor Perez. Councilor Letterman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm certainly sure this is headed to continuance as the other items that had hearings opened this evening were. But I want to say that while we will likely continue this item tonight, before our next hearing, I think it's important that Phil does an additional site visit and evaluates current compliance with the special permit that is already in place. Because I think that's a big concern is if the existing conditions are not being met, we need to address that first before any conversation about a new permit coming on site is followed up upon. I mean, what we're really talking about here is allowing 2 special permit uses to carry on at once. And I think that its current special permit use really appears to be almost over capacity. So I agree with my colleagues' concerns relative to exacerbating that situation. And I think there's going to need to be some overall changes at this site to address those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. And if Mr. Jimmy, if you would oblige Councilor Letterman's request, be prepared at the next hearing for comments relative to that, we would be appreciative of that. All right, with that, are there any other questions or comments at this time from the council? Seeing none, is there any further deliberation? Also seeing none, I will entertain a motion then to continue.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, properly seconded by Councilor Govan. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to continue?
I'm continuing the item, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Kern.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown. Away, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield. Away, absent Councilor Williams.
Yes, the item has been continued. Madam Clerk, item number 7, I believe we're on, please.
Item number 7 is for a dimensional special permit for the reduction of the rear and side yards of the property known as Southside Morris Street, and Northside Central Street.
If there's anyone present to speak to the special, please state your name and address for the record.
I'm sorry, I was having trouble hearing that.
It's okay. If you could just please state your name and address for the record.
Okay, my name is Jasper McCoy, and I'm at 123 Mulberry Street, Springfield, Mass.
Thank you. You have the floor.
So this is a part of a larger project, or a project that was previously approved at last month's special hearing. This is just a continuation of the same project. So what we're asking for is dimensional reduction according to the special permit granting authority of at least half for our rear side yards on the parcels above Moore Street, and then for our side yard at the parcels below Moore Street for the Gemini Townhome project.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Madam Clerk, I'll ask first, have we received any testimony for those in favor of this special permit?
We have not.
All right, and how about in opposition?
No, we have not.
All right, and with that, I will entertain any questions from the council at this time. I'll ask, are there any questions?
Mr. President, if I may, sir.
Councilor Davila, yes.
Thank you. I couldn't get to my mic at one time. I'm not quite clear. What are we doing here?
If you wouldn't mind rephrasing, Mr. McCoy.
Yeah, I'm looking for something to showcase now.
That would
If you
be
give
excellent.
me 1 second.
Excuse me, Jasper. I have some graphics pulled up and I could share screen.
That'd be great. I apologize. Marco from Architectural Environmental Life is here.
Hi,
He
everyone.
can
Good evening.
answer your question.
Right,
Is
if
it
you could just
okay?
state your name and address, Mr. I'm not even going to attempt your last name.
Marco, M-A-R-C. Well, can you see my name on the?
Yes, but could you please state it for the record?
Marco Crescentini. I'm a senior project architect with Architecture EL.
Appreciate it. You have the floor and sharing capabilities.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oops. Let's see right here. I'm going to go full screen. So, Jasper, I'll let you speak, but I've got the site plan pulled up. And I know that one of the areas is this area right here north of Morris Street. And instead of, we have a front. Jasper, do you want to explain that part? And I can zoom in as well.
Yeah, please. Could you zoom in the parcels above Moore Street? So here, what we're looking for is a rear reduction setback. So if you look behind the buildings where we would have a backyard, we're asking to encroach upon the backyard where the setback is typically 20 feet. We're approaching 10 feet, and this is to allow a driveway at the front portion of the units in Moore Street. The idea is to have every unit be identical so that there's no issue when we're selling these affordable housing homes to people who are eligible in our city. So this was one area where we're requesting a setback granting. And then if you can scroll down to, I think it's building 2. Here on the side yard of building 2, we're encroaching upon the side yard, which is a 15-foot requirement according to anything that's a corner lot in the city. And since we don't have any residential neighbors across the street, we most likely won't. We're looking for this side yard reduction in about 2 or 3 feet. But I think we're just submitting for all half at the maximum, just to cover full basis.
Jasper, I also have those sketch drawings if you want to show them.
Yeah, and so could you scroll down to those sketch drawings? According to the ruling in the code or the zoning ordinance.
So this one is the plan that you already saw. Excuse me, this is SK1.
Right.
And then this is SK2, again, to the north of Morris area. And I can zoom in a little bit there to make that more clear to read.
Yeah, so according to the provisions of your authority to grant this, we have to stay within a height range, even when we encroach upon the setback. And so these diagrams and ones that should have been sent along with this application show that we're in compliance with these rules as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then Jasper, if you like, I can also show the second one that we were talking about. This again is the plan view showing the portion of the building at the dimensional variation. I'm just panning down just a little bit. And then I also have a section if you want to see that.
Yeah, we can show this section really quickly, but I think they understand in general.
Yeah, I think at least for me that's enough, gentlemen. Basically, so you want to do a rear reduction so that you can do two different driveways, basically, and then keep it within the height requirement, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, I see. Now, did you say that Jasper, this is the old Gemini building?
Yeah, so this was the same site at 86 Morris or 89 Morris.
Right. It's a big lot, yeah. Yeah, and how many units are you gonna have there all total?
In total, there should be 40 units.
40 units, and they are market rate again, or affordable housing?
They're all affordable housing below 100% AMI.
Okay, because I remember you coming in front of the council for this location a while back. So, okay, good. That wasn't clear what it was. Excellent explanation, and thank you, gentlemen. Best of luck. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind, I'll appreciate that. Thank you. All right, are there any other questions from the council at this time? Seeing none, is there any further deliberation? Also seeing none, I will then entertain a motion to continue the special permit hearing as well.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Davila. I'll pass that to Councilor Perez. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to continue this item?
I'm continuing the item. Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Kern.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown. Away. Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Abstain.
Abstain, Councilor Whitfield. Absent, Councilor Williams.
Yes, the item has been continued. Thank you, gentlemen, for hanging in with us.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
You too. Madam Clerk, the last item.
Last item is item number 8, a zone change. It reads as follows: area generally bounded by State Street, Main Street, Willow Street, Stockbridge Court, Park Street. It's a zone change from business B to business C.
All right, whoever's present for this item, please state your name and address for the record.
Amanda Pham, Executive Director of the Springfield Redevelopment Authority, 94 Jeunesse Street, Springfield, Mass.
Thank you.
Thank you, President. Evening, councilors. This requested zone change for multiple properties down in the Main Street South End area actually is creates cohesion and consistency with the district in the Metro Center area. It was actually noted throughout the Court Square Urban Renewal Plan. While the authority reviews and does a consolidation and forthcoming amendment, it was noted that these proposed zone changes had actually not gotten completed. So this would fulfill some key zone recommendations that are through the plan.
Great, thank you, Ms. Pham. Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony for those in favor of this zone change?
We have not.
All right, and how about in opposition?
No, we have not.
All right, with that, councilors, do you have any questions at this time? Councilor Letterman.
Mr. President, is this on for final vote tonight or is this a continuance?
I was alerted by the clerk that this was for the first hearing on this.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so it'll come before us again.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Letterman. Are there any other questions at this time? Right, seeing none, is there any further deliberation? Also seeing none, I will entertain a motion then. Oh, Councilor Walsh.
Yes, following up with what Councilor Letterman asked, I hope the next time it comes before us, we have a little more information. Oh,
Counselor, just so I can jump in, I did send you an analysis with a map that shows the properties as well as what's being proposed, so that could kind of outline again, these were properties that were identified in the urban renewal plan back in the, I think the 80s or 90s that was never completed. So a change to business C really does not impact any of the existing businesses at this location. It actually kind of gives a one of the perks to business C is that the requirement for on-site parking is eliminated. So so right now in business B, if you were to open up a retail establishment, you would have to show that you have on-site parking, which obviously a number of the buildings in the downtown do not. So business C just kind of extends the central business district zoning to this particular location along State Street, but I can resend the analysis as well.
And I always like pictures.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Are there any other comments at this moment? All right, seeing none, I will entertain then a motion to continue the zone change hearing.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Govan, seconded by Councilor Edwards. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to continue, please?
On continuing, Councilor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown, away. Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield absent. Councilor Williams.
Yes, the item has been continued. Madam Clerk, is there any further business before the council this evening?
There is not.
Right, councilors, with that, I will let you go. Thank you for your patience, and go Celtics, who are on right now. So, enjoy that.
Good night.
Good seeing you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Everybody.
Thanks, everybody.